Yes. So last lecture, what we have seen is like, how, and we have created probably few of the custom fields as well inside the object candidate and as well as in the hiring manager. All right. Now see, one thing what we have to observe is, these are all the fields what we have created. These all are the fields that we have created, right? Inside, we have followed one document for this as well. There was one document, something called as IDD, interface detail document. Now we were following this document, and with the help of this document, we have created all these fields, right? I would be sharing this document, I'll share this to drive by today, so that probably if you are practicing, you can practice. Otherwise, these are available on the notes, all right? So you can definitely go with from, I mean, these are now available on the videos as well, right? So now with respect to this document, whatever has been mentioned, right? So accordingly, we have created all those fields. Now, one thing to observe over here is like, if you see this interface, I mean, what is the look and feel of this? At the same time, if you go to some of the standard objects, like for example, if I go with account or maybe with contact or with any of the standard, the difference what I am observing and you should also observe is like, first thing is like the fields have been arranged into two columns. Fields have been arranged into two columns. There are few of the fields over here. There are few of the fields over here as well. This is the first thing. Now second thing, now I mean, for example, these all are the set of the fields. Now they are being partitionized, they are being partitionized into what? Into different sections. That means there are some of the fields inside account information section, then there are some of the fields inside, the address information sections and all that. Over here as well, there are few of the fields. Then if you go to like additional information section, there are also some of the fields are over here. So there are, this interface looks to be a realistic interface. If the same thing, if you go with like, for example, contact or maybe with some other, that time also you're going to see the interface, right? There are again sections, although these fields are not being into two columns, but at least there are, the fields are being present into sections, right? You go with the case, and when you click onto this new, so you can see the fields have been, again, they are being present in two columns. Moreover, they are being partitionized, they are grouped into different sections: case information, additional information, description, all right, like this. And what we created looks like to be this only. So we should definitely perform, something over here to make this more beautiful and to, to bring the fields into two columns, all right? And then, introduce some sections and all that. So whatever you wanted to do from, I mean, apart from the creation, now I wanted to, I wanted to bring the fields in two columns. I wanted to introduce some sections, all right? And then I also wanted to define the tab key orders and all that. I mean, if you are onto right now onto this field, and for example, there is one more field over here, there's one more field over here. Now, when you press the tab, so either you should go to, from top to bottom, or you should go to from left to right. That is something called as tab key order. So that is also, so there are so many things that you can achieve with page layout customization. So that is why the next topic, what we are going to learn is something called as a page layout customization. And page layout customization would tell you so many different things, right? There are so many different things that we are going to learn into this. By using page layout customization, what could be achieved, right? We're going to see. Now, first of all, when we talk about page layout customization or simply the pages, there are two different types. There are two different types of layouts: edit layout and detail layout. Let me show you. So see, if I go to, for example, if I open this record, let's say, if I open this record, right? So when you are looking into a record, so you are actually onto a detail layout. You're actually onto a detail layout. For example, right now you're looking a record of candidate, it would be candidate detail. If you are looking some account record, for example, I'll open this Genie Point record. So when we are looking into the record, when we open a record, so that time where we are actually onto the detail layout. We are actually onto a detail layout. And when you either edit, when you either edit like this, or maybe you press the new button, that time you are onto edit layout. So basically there are two types of layout: edit layout and detail layout. Right now I'm onto what? Edit layout. This is also what? Edit layout. If you open a record, for example, like this, you are now onto what? Onto the detail layout. So detail layout is what? Detail layout would display you the, I mean, the whatever the records of the fields are there, right? whatever the records of the fields are there. So detail layout would display you that. Edit layout is used to simply, edit the fields, edit whatever is there inside. No, you have to edit. So page layout, there are of two types, edit layout and detail layout. All right, this is the first thing. Now, now the second thing is like whenever an object is created, for example, you created the object like hiring manager, you also have created an object called candidate. So basically what happened is like, for these objects, the page layout is automatically created internally. Page layout internally is created. Whenever you create a tab for this, I mean, it's not like when you create an object, actually, rather when you create a tab, if you remember for hiring manager, we have created a tab. For candidate, we initially don't create it, but then later on we follow some steps and we created the tab for this candidate as well. So whenever you create a tab for any particular object, along with tab, one more thing is being created, and that is what? Page layout. That is the page layout. So when you go to tab, it would initially take you to the tab's home page. Like this is home, hiring manager's home. If you go with this would be what? This would be candidate home. If you click on over here, it would be like, opportunities home. Initially, it would take you to the home, but when you either make a click onto this new button, or maybe, you open a record, like you click on new button, or maybe you open a record, something like this. Then eventually you are going to land on one of the layout. If you open a record, it would be like detail layout, sorry. If you press this new button or maybe an edit button, you are going to land on what? Edit layout. This is how, the layouts are created. So wherever the tab is there, wherever for the object, where is a tab? If there is a tab, there would also be a page layout. There would also be a page layout. Tab is what? Tab is that particular hint that you are going to land onto this ground. That particular ground is what? It's a page layout. Your all of the fields, whatever you have created, they are going to be landed over here onto this layout. They are going to be landed onto this layout, right? So where we perform customization on ground. We actually perform customization not at the tab home page. Rather, we perform the customization, whatever we do it onto the layout. And that is why, it is called as page layout customization. This is called as page layout customization, because whatever the customization, the changes, editing, whatever you are trying to do, you are actually trying to do it onto the land, that particular land where after, clicking, you are going to be at landed. So that is the reason it is called as page layout customization. Now, what we are going to see with this, what are the things that using the page layout customization we are going to see? This is the list of all of them. This is the list of all of them, right? So I'll be first of all covering them, and we'll come back to this and we'll see कि हमसे मतलब कोई छूट तो नहीं क्या हमसे, right? So first of all, चलो start करते हैं. So the difference what I have identified is like when I see some standard object, their page layout and this page layout is totally different. It seems to be very different. How come? The fields have been arranged into single column. There is no section over here. The entire fields are present inside one section only, information. That is the default section, by the way. So let's first of all introduce some sections. Let's bring the fields in two different columns, just try to make it more more readable or more user friendly kind of thing. So what you have to do is first of all, you have to be on to layout. And once you are either you are on edit layout or one detail layout, whatever, just expand the force.com quick access menu and go to edit layout. Go to edit layout. See, this option appears only onto layout. Let me show you one thing. If you go, for example, if you go to tabs home page. All right, right now where you are onto the tab home. Now, if you expand, there would be no edit layout. It would be edit columns. So if you wanted to get this option edit layout, you first of all have to be on layout. Now that's up to you कि आप tab home page पे तो नहीं मिलेगा आपको, that would be replaced by edit column. हाँ, either you are on to detail layout, for example. अभी आप कहाँ पर हो? Detail layout. When you expand force.com on detail layout, there would be edit layout. हाँ, अगर आप डिटेल लेआउट में तब भी, अगर आप एडिट लेआउट में हो तब भी आपको लेआउट, मतलब यू हैव टू बी ऑन लेआउट. आप चाहे आप एडिट में रहो चाहे डिटेल में रहो, दैट इज नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट. वो कहीं पर भी रहेंगे आपको ये ऑप्शन मिलेगा. बट से इफ यू आर ऑन टू द होम पे, अभी आप जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल यू आर ऑन टू द अपॉर्चुनिटीज होम, एंड इफ यू एक्सपैंड ओवर हियर, यू विल नॉट गोइंग टू सी दैट ऑप्शन एडिट लेआउट. So to get that option, first of all, you have to be on layout. आपको layout पे जाना पड़ेगा. Now it should be either edit layout or detail layout, whatever, you have to first of all understand this. Now go with this edit layout. All right, so go with this edit layout. This is something new has been added. I have to study this. All right. Huh. Now you would see one control over here. This particular control, this particular section, what you see over here. This is something called as an always visible section. Always visible section. Why it is called as an always visible section? Let me try to show you. See, if even if I scroll it, if I, it is present over the top of the page, as you can see. Now, even though if I scroll it, I go to the bottom of the page, even that time as well, I could see these controls, right? That time as well, I could see this. So this is the reason, this is the reason this is called as always visible section. So even though you scroll, you will find that this page is present. This page is present everywhere. This section is present everywhere. So that is the reason, it is called as always visible section. That is the reason it is called as always visible section. Right. All right. So I go to the information section, and I could see over here that these fields, all of them are being arranged into single column. So the first thing what I would do is like, first of all, let me introduce some sections over here. All right. There's only no, I mean, there are no sections. As you can see, you go to the candidate when you click on this new button. All right. So you can see there are no sections over here. There are no sections over here into the edit layout. Let me do one thing. Let me first of all introduce sections. So for that, you have to drag and drop this sections. You see, there's a name called section over here in the fields. These are the controls: button, quick action, mobiles, expanded, related list, and all that, right? And the report chats and whatever. We have to be on fields first of all, right? In the fields, there is there's one button, one quick control called as section. You just have to drag and drop it above or below. So I wanted this below. So as soon as I wanted it to be below information section. So I'm just dragging and dropping. So it would ask you what is the section name. So let me give the name as contact info. What is happening here? Let me introduce the section below this. Contact information section. Now this section, I wanted this to be present only on edit layout. So I'm removing it from detail layout. You can select this. In the next example, I'm going to show you that as well. But right now, let's consider I'm making this into the edit layout only. And then I wanted this section to be appear on edit only. Or let's select with both of them. Chalo, theek hai. Now, how many columns you wanted? I wanted to have 2 columns. What should be the tab key order, from left to right or top to down? I'm going with left to right only. Let me now press this. So now see, one more section with the name called contact information section has been added. All right, let me add few things. Let's say contact information and maybe email. I'm adding this into 2 fields, email. All right, and let me bring one more column, one more section below this with the name called additional information section. This again, I wanted this to be present on both of the layout, 2 columns, left, right, whatever. Let me go with this additional information section. Now in this section, I would be bringing like PAN number, maybe passport number, maybe like current CTC, expected CTC, candidate location. I'm bringing this over here, reference ID. I'm introducing one more section below to this. Let me bring skills and qualifications, right? You could design this according to you. So in the skills, and I'm just bringing qualification, technical skills, year of experience, right? Candidate name, location, right? So these are the sections, I have introduced over here. And then as you can see, like, the fields have been arranged into 2 columns as well. Now let me save this first of all, and let's see how the interface looks like to be. Okay, this, see, this is what, right? This is like your interface looks like to be like this. I can do one thing, year of experience को ऊपर रहने दो. I think this looks fine, कोई problem नहीं. Okay. Now see, when you let me see, do we have a record? Yes, we do have a record. So see, if you you selected the sections onto the to be displayed on detail layout as well. That is the reason these sections are available over here as well. I mean, they are available. They are available into the edit layout, right? In the edit layout also you can see contact information section, additional and skills, right? Even if when you open a record and when you go to the detail layout, that time also these sections are present. These sections are present, right? That was one thing. And let me show you a few more things related to this. So now this, if I'll refresh this interface, see how does it looks like to be, right? Let me try to create a record. For example, Ram Kumar. All right. Now, as soon as I press tab, see, as soon as I press tab, right, and then I press tab, location would be like this. This section has been covered, right? The section has been covered. Now you press the tab, you go to the next section. You go to the next section. See, left, right, left, right, left, right, right. This is basically what a tab key order. This is basically what a tab key order. You can give the contact number and then PAN number. Passport number. Let me copy the same thing over here as well. And then, current CTC is maybe like 5 lakh, once 10, 100,000, 10,000 lakh. Expected CT is 10 lakh, once 10, 100,000, 10,000 lakh, 10 lakh. Qualification is BE. Let me select few of the things. Year of experience maybe is 3. And let me save this record. So now see, one record of candidate has been created, right? So now this looks to be what I could say. This looks to be more perfect, right? Rather than that raw interface. So this is what we can achieve with the page layout customization. And there are few more things as well. Let me first of all do the same thing with the hiring manager as well, because in the hiring manager also we don't have any sections. And actually there are only few fields. So I think there is no need to create the sections over here. Rather, what I can do is small customization. Let me bring them into 2 columns. All of them are arranged in the same one. So I'll bring this location over here. HR email ID, contact number. Let it be present. Let me save this and see how does it looks like to be. One of them again you can bring to the right. Let's do one more thing. Let's bring HR ID over here and let's me save this. All right, this seems to be all right, and this seems to be okay. So because we are having very less amount of field over here, I don't think it's appropriate to create the section and partitionize them, right? This is all right. This is it. I mean, it looks good to have them all in the same section because there are only few fields over here, right? So this is what we have seen so far is like, we can add the required sections that completed. Tab key order is also completed. We can specify how many columns you want. Minimum it is 1, maximum it is 2. If you wanted to go beyond 2 columns, for example, by any means, if you wanted that the interface would have more than 2 columns, then you cannot do it over. There are few of the things that are restricted. There are few governor limits. The user interface could be designed. When you are doing this with the non-coding environment with the page layout customization, I could maximum go and create 2 columns, not more than that. But let's say if I wanted to have the same thing, I wanted to introduce more than 2 columns. So what to do that? So you have to go with like some front-end programming, like, LWC, or maybe your Visual Force page, right? I probably could show you that. If I would be having those logins, I could probably show you that. So with the page layout customization, there is a governor limit. There's a restriction that we could introduce 2 columns only. We could arrange the fields in 2 columns, not more than that. Not more than that. Just give me a moment. Let me change my passwords. 1 second.
Recording in progress.
Hmm. 1 second. Yeah. I have to show you what? Visual Force page. Yeah. Let me try to show you something. I have to find, first of all, let me find out that page. Show all it is. ये है क्या? No. Now see this interface. See how does it looks like to be, right? So what I was discussing, let's once again see if you are arranging the fields, if you are arranging the fields with the page layout customization, we could maximum arrange them in 2 columns, 1 and 2, right? If there is a kind of requirement by any means, if this is your requirement that field should be arranged in more than 2 columns, then page layout with the page layout customization, definitely we couldn't achieve it. It is not possible, right? This is what a governor limit, understand? So with the page layout customization, there is one restriction, there is one limit. What is that? We could maximum arrange the fields in 2 columns. But let's see this interface. Over here, as you can see, I have arranged them in 3 columns, by the way. I have arranged them in 3 columns. First column, then second column, and then my third column, right? These fields are, you can see the fields have been arranged in 3 columns. So how come this is possible? This is obviously is not possible with the page layout customization. What I did is I have written a code for this. I have written a code. You are going to learn that, this is the code. So in the column, there's a property called as column. I have specified, I wanted number of the columns has to be 3. So this is something called as coding, VF coding. And the same could be done with the LWC coding as well. So this have to be, these are customization efforts. But with the config part, with the configuration, with the page layout configuration especially, we could go and maximum arrange the fields in 2 columns. If you wanted to get them arranged in more than 2 columns, that is not possible with the configuration. You have to try with some other ways. And one way to do this is like Visual Force page, going with the Visual Force programmings like this, where we may make the changes in programmings and we decide how many columns required to be get introduced. This is one way to do this. The another way to do this is the second way is LWC coding as well. By LWC also you can do the same thing. Actually, LWC is far flexible. Right? LWC is far flexible. I mean, as compared to your Visual Force page, LWC is far flexible. I just forgot the credentials. Anyways, let it be. फिर कभी दिखा दूंगा. So this is चलो इसको close कर देते हैं and let's get back to topic. So we could arrange the fields in 1 column or maybe 2 columns. If we wanted to go beyond that, we have to try with some other ways, right? And then we could specify कि जो sections आप introduce कर रहे हो, they should be, they should be created where in only in the edit or detail layout. Right now, see what I did is for the candidate, when you are on to edit layout, you can see the sections, right? All right. If you are, for example, if you are, now let me try to open a record other than this. For example, Ram Kumar. Now onto the detail layout as well as you can see the sections. Now, if you wanted to remove it from here, like see, if you go to the account, right? If you go to the account and you open a record over here, what we see is like, all of the data, they are being arranged into a single section. Although when you go to edit layout, they have been partitionized into different sections. So sections are on to edit layout. Now this is up to you. ऐसा कोई rule नहीं है. I'm just telling you the another ways. There's one more way to visualize this. एक तो ये होता है कि you could have the sections in detail layout, or you could simply like this. You could have the sections on edit layout, but when somebody goes to detail layout, right, that time the entire data has been arranged into same column. If you wanted to have that functionality, go again with like edit layout and force.com and then edit layout, and then go with the sections. Like you introduce contact information, just make a double click over here, go to section, or else when you go, there is a symbol, this symbol, by this also you could, or the simple is to like just onto the name of the section, just make a double click, remove it from detail layout, right? Remove it from edit layout से हटाना मतलब नहीं है, detail layout से हटा देते हैं, right? Okay, and this as well, detail layout, this as well. Now if I save it, all right, now if I save it, see, from the detail layout, the sections have been removed. But when we go to edit layout, you can see the sections, right? So this is what you can, again, this is what you can decide. Okay, the sections what we have created, they should be listed out where? Onto edit layout, detail layout, both of them, or either of them, right? Or nowhere. Yeah, this is what you can control with page layout customization. Then we can arrange the fields into different columns that we already have seen. Some of the fields I have just dragged and dropped it, right? So that could be done. We can move the fields from one section to another section. That is, we can make a field required. This is something which is very important. This is something which is very important. We are going to have a discussion on to this point. This is something which is very important. All right. We can remove the fields if you wanted. You can remove some of the fields. I mean, if you want, like, I go to edit layout. Now, for example, I don't want, by any means, I don't want this passport number. I can remove this simply. See, I can remove this. One way is to drag and drop. The another way is like, you make a double click. No, sorry. You go to over here and this is a minus symbol. By this as well, you can remove the fields, right? So if you wanted to remove a field, that is also possible. Then you can add the fields. You can remove the field. You can arrange them in the sections. So there are two things left. First is related list. How to introduce the related list, how to remove and how to add the related list. And beyond that, what is a related list? And second, and the important thing, how to make a field required. Let me cover this point first of all. All right. See, I told you that there are 5 different ways a field could be made required. Any field. The first, what you have learned so far, at the time of creation of the field, I mean, when we have created the fields, right? When we have created the fields, for example, we have created a field called contact number. At the time of creation of the field, there is a required checkbox. If you click this, the field becomes a mandatory field. This is the first way, right? There are 5 different ways. Please write it down. There are 5 different ways you could make a field required. And why there are 5 different ways, you will be going to learn them. Don't worry. Matlab, just knowing this, there are 5 different ways to do this. But on what circumstances you have to go with which option, that is something which is again important. Dekho, do baatein samjho. If we know every tool, right? If we know every tool, but we don't know where to apply the tool, what is the meaning to have that knowledge? And mostly this is what is happening, this is what is happening in the training sessions. They will teach you about everything, but they won't, even they themselves don't know what is the differentiation, why there are 2 to 3 things, 2 to 3 different ways to do that in Salesforce. अभी कैसा है, if you know, अभी आपसे पूछा मैंने कि क्वेश्चन All right. So what are the different ways you could make a field mandate? You will going to say me no, confidently, very confidently. There are 5 different ways you could make a field required. By required checkbox. Second, what I'm learning, what I'm teaching you right now. By the page layout customization. Second technique. Third, by writing a validation rule. Fourth, by writing a trigger. Fifth, by visual force programming. You can write it. Actually, you have to write it. There are 5 different ways you could make a field required field, mandatory field. The first is that required checkbox. Second is page layout customization, what you are learning right now, page layout customization. By the page layout customization, also we could make a field mandatory. Third, with the validation rule, I'm going to teach you that as well. Fourth, third is validation rule. By writing a validation rule, again, you could make a field as a required field. That was third. Fourth, by writing an Apex trigger. By writing an Apex trigger, by writing a trigger also, you could make a field required. And in the visual force controller also, in the visual force programming also, by visual force programming also, I could make a field as required field. So there are literally 5 different ways to do that. And this is, अब यहाँ तक पढ़ाने के बाद में ना full stop लग जाता. और this is what is happening. I have seen this. मैं देखा है, बहुत सारे videos देखता हूँ मैं. They would tell you there are 5 different ways. आप बोलोगे वाह क्या पढ़ा दिया यार हमको, बहुत बढ़िया. My next question. What is the difference between page layout customization and required checkbox? What is the difference between validation rule, page layout customization, required checkbox? What is the difference between page layout customization, validation rule, required checkbox, and then writing a trigger? You don't know scenarios. Bas ho gaya. What is the benefit of knowing 5 different tools when you don't know where to use this tool? तो कैसा एक चीज को समझो. Having a knowledge is a good thing, but don't know where to apply that knowledge. If you don't know like where to apply, how to apply that knowledge is like simply waste of thing. That's not worthy. You have to understand this, right? So we would going to obviously learn. See, mera training lamba kyun chalta hai? Because there are 2 things in my training. First, concept, and second, and the more important thing, where to apply that concept. That is more important to understand. तो इसीलिए ना मुझे वक्त लगता है समझाने के लिए. अदरवाइज लोग इसको 1.5 महीना 2 महीने में खत्म कर डाल रहे हैं क्लासिक पोर्शन को, एंड दे आर क्लेमिंग कि मैंने सब पढ़ा दिया. I have taught them everything. Admin, development, integration, deployment सब पढ़ा दिया. अभी वो ठीक है, तुमने पढ़ा दिया, that is an okay thing. अभी उस कैंडिडेट को पूछो, वो सारे इंटरव्यूज क्लियर ही नहीं कर पाते. And then they got frustrated. Finally बोलते कि ये this is something we are not built up for this. जबकि ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Salesforce is for everyone. You don't know the scenario, that is the issue. इसलिए ना जब कुछ समझाता हूँ और उसको डिफरेंशिएशन करके देता हूँ, उस पर ज्यादा कॉन्सेंट्रेट किया करो. बिकॉज वो चीज रियल टाइम का नॉलेज आता है. वो रियल टाइम सिनेरियो है कि अगर इफ देयर इज ऑलरेडी रिक्वायर्ड चेक बॉक्स, व्हाई देयर इज वन अनदर टेक्निक पेज लेआउट कस्टमाइजेशन. अरे कुछ तो होगा ना उसके पीछे का रीजन. सेल्सफोर्स आपको फालतू का कंफ्यूजन क्यों करने को दे रहा है? अभी एक काम है उसको करने के, अगर 5 तरीके सेल्सफोर्स बता रहा है आपको, देयर मस्ट बी समथिंग, कुछ तो वजह होगी उसकी. तो yes, there is a way. There is one important thing behind this. तो अपन देखेंगे पहले अपन ये देखते हैं कि how to make a field as a required field by page layout customization. One technique we already know. आपने देखा कि at the time of creation of the field, in the general option section, there's a small checkbox called required checkbox. You click it, the field become required. You click it, the field become. You don't click it, the field don't become required. Let me show you. Now I have removed this, right? What was that field? What's a field? A contact number. So now if I go to this, if I go to the candidate object and if I refresh, so contact number, where is contact number? Contact number. ठीक है? नहीं? What happened? कौन सा object में किया मैंने changes? हाँ, I understand. This is also in the page layout. ठीक है? मैं इसको छोड़ के कुछ और बताता हूँ. Page layout पे आऊंगा तो still ये contact number mandatory क्यों दिख रहा है आपको दिख जाएगा. मैं कोई और field try करता हूँ अभी. Let me make candidate location. Let me make candidate location as a mandatory thing, or maybe any one of them. Passport number, ठीक है? Passport number या फिर current CTC. So what that, what I'm going to do, I'm just expanding the force.com quick access menu and I'm going with edit layout. ठीक है? Now you अभी एक चीज यहाँ पे देख रहे हैं अपन, कौन सी फील्ड थी वो? कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर. ठीक है? If you see one thing, अभी मैंने इस कॉन्टेक्ट नंबर को, पहले ये रिक्वायर्ड था, अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग, कैंडिडेट ऑब्जेक्ट पे कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर, ठीक है, कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर सीम्स टू बी अ मैंडेटरी फील्ड, अभी भी मैंडेटरी दिख रहा है ये, ठीक है। क्यों दिख रहा है, आई एम टेलिंग यू द रीजन। अभी मैंने क्या किया, व्हाट आई डिड इज लाइक आई गो टू द प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ दिस कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर, एंड फ्रॉम हियर ऑल दो मैंने रिक्वायर्ड हटा दिया है, उसको रिक्वायर्ड हटा दिया, बट स्टिल इट सीम्स टू बी मैंडेटरी। ऐसा क्यों है, आई एम टेलिंग यू द रीजन, आई एम टेलिंग यू द रीजन, ठीक है, वहां तक मैं पहुंचता हूँ। अभी एक चीज जो मैं ऑब्जर्व करने बोल रहा हूँ, सभी लोग ऑब्जर्व करो उसको, रेड स्टार ब्लू डॉट, रेड स्टार ब्लू डॉट, even red star blue dot, only red star. Why there is a red star, what is this blue dot, how come this both of comes, how come this single come, बताता हूं मैं, सब बताता हूँ, ऑब्जर्व करने बोला, ऑब्जर्व करो, रेड स्टार ब्लू डॉट यहाँ पर, और कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर जिसको मैंने अभी चेंज किया, रिक्वायर्ड से हटाया है, उसमें क्या दिख रहा है आपको, ओनली वन रेड स्टार, ठीक है, आते हैं वहां तक भी आते हैं। चलो पहले जो मकसद है वो पूरा करते हैं। आई वॉन्टेड टू मेक लेट्स से पासपोर्ट नंबर एज अ रिक्वायर्ड फील्ड, बट दिस, or maybe current CTC as a required. But this I'm going to do with the page layout customization. I'm not going to edit the properties of this, right? I'll go with page layout customization. The field, there is a field called passport number. इसके सामने में कुछ दिख रहा है क्या अभी आपको, कुछ भी नहीं है, right? I'll make a double click over here. I'll make a double click over here. I'll make a double click over here. When you make the ये इसका property box खुल जाता है. There are two things, read only and required. Read only and required. Make it required. Make it required. Press OK. Current CTC you wanted to make it required. Okay. What you see? One red star, one red star, red star, red star. So wherever there is a red star, this means, see, if you go to, for example, इसको complete करते हैं पहले. If you go to the page layout customization पर अगर आप जाते पेज पे जाते हैं, after committing this, when you go to this user interface, यहाँ पर आपको current CTC और पैन नंबर एक जैसा दिख रहा है, पासपोर्ट नंबर एक जैसा दिख रहा है, मतलब हियर देयर इज नो वे टू फाइंड आउट द डिफरेंसेस, मतलब दोनों मैंडेटरी है, ये भी फील्ड रिक्वायर्ड बन गई, ये भी फील्ड रिक्वायर्ड बन गई। बट इफ यू क्लियरली वांटेड टू सी कि कैसा है, तो आप उसको, आपके लिए ना आपको उसको इसमें जाना पड़ेगा, एडिट लेआउट में। नाउ आफ्टर गोइंग टू एडिट लेआउट वी कैन सी वन थिंग, wherever there is only one red star means this field is mandatory on page layout only. This field is mandatory on page layout only. Wherever there is red star along with blue dot, red star मतलब page layout और blue dot मतलब database, database। अभी बहुत ध्यान से सुनो मेरी बात, इतना कोई नहीं बताता, सबसे पहली बात सुन लो, इतना कोई नहीं बता सकता आपको। क्यों? पहली बात तो पता नहीं है, दूसरा पता है तो बताने की फुर्सत नहीं है। बिजनेस करना है, आपकी बैच खत्म होगी, नई बैच शुरू करेंगे, नया पैसा आएगा, तो इतना डिटेल में कोई नहीं बताता, किसी के पास वक्त नहीं है, वक्त और मतलब जो कुछ भी है। देखो, आई टोल्ड यू वन थिंग, वी हैव डिस्कस सेल्सफोर्स किस तरह की टेक्नोलॉजी है, इस पर हमने काफी बार एक डायग्राम ओपन किया मैंने, और जिसमें हमने काफी कुछ देखा है। डेवलपमेंट एफर्ट्स कितने रहते हैं सेल्सफोर्स में? आप फ्रंट एंड डेवलप करते हो सिर्फ, राइट, आप सिर्फ फ्रंट एंड डेवलप करते हो। यू क्रिएट एन ऑब्जेक्ट, टैब, पेज लेआउट वो भी नहीं करते आप, एक्चुअली पेज लेआउट भी ऑटोमेटिकली क्रिएट होता है, अभी बताया मैंने, आज के लेक्चर में बताया। आपने ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट किया, फॉर एग्जांपल कैंडिडेट, हायरिंग मैनेजर, उसका टैब क्रिएट किया, नाउ एज सून एज यू क्रिएट द टैब फॉर इट, उसका पेज लेआउट अपने आप क्रिएट हो जाता है। ऑब्जेक्ट जब आप क्रिएट करते हो, फील्ड्स जब आप उसके अंदर क्रिएट करते हो, कस्टम फील्ड्स जो कि आपने किया है, जब आप ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट करते हो तो उससे रिलेटेड एक डेटाबेस टेबल, database.com पे एक टेबल ऑटोमेटिकली क्रिएट हो जाता है। I mean, as soon as the object is created, the moment you created an object, every object have 5 standard fields: ID, name, owner, created by, last modified by, and this we have discussed। ये हमने देखा है कि जब भी हम एक ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट करते हैं, as soon as we created that, जैसे ही उसका क्रिएशन होता है, जैसे ही when it comes into the existence, जैसे ही उसका बर्थ होता है, it come up with the 5 properties, उसमें पांच फील्ड्स अपने आप मौजूद रहती हैं, 5 स्टैंडर्ड फील्ड्स आर देयर। व्हाट आर दोस? आईडी, नेम, क्रिएटेड बाय, लास्ट मॉडिफाइड बाय, ओनर। So when you create an object, along with that object, your table in the backend is also created. That table would also have 5 columns. That table would also have 5 columns. And one business logic class. What is the role of this business logic class? To make an association between your front end and the backend. This already have been created. तो ये सारा part automatically चलता है। अभी वैसे अगर सेल्सफोर्स नहीं होता ना तो ये सब चीजें, दीज आर द मैनुअल एफर्ट्स, हो सकता है अलग अलग टीम परफॉर्म करती थी, फ्रंट एंड टीम, बैक एंड टीम, डेटाबेस टीम। और इसमें हमने एक बार, काफी शुरुआत की बात है, हमने इसके बारे में चर्चा भी किया था कि देखो सेल्सफोर्स का डेवलपमेंट कैसा होता है और बाकी टेक्नोलॉजीज में डेवलपमेंट कैसा होता है, तो आपके ऊपर कितना ओवरहेड है, व्हाट इज योर ओवरऑल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इज टू जस्ट वर्क ऑन टू द फ्रंट एंड साइड। बाकी का पीछे का भूल जाओ, जितना भी कॉम्प्लिकेशन सब भूल जाओ। आप एक ईमेल फील्ड डायरेक्टली क्रिएट कर सकते हो, उसके पीछे का सारा वैलिडेशन वो खुद लगा देगा। आप केस सेंसिटिव, केस इनसेंसिटिव डिसाइड कर सकते हो, आप यूनिकनेस मेंटेन कर सकते हो, स्मॉल स्मॉल चेक बॉक्सेस हैं सिर्फ, उसके पीछे का सारा स्क्रिप्ट अपने आप लग रहा है, एंड यू डोंट हैव टू वरी अबाउट दैट। आप बस ड्रैग करो, ड्रॉप करो, दैट्स इट। तो ये इस तरह से डेवलपमेंट चलता है। अभी देखो एक चीज समझो, जैसे अज्यूम लाइक दिस कि आप एक मिरर के सामने खड़े हो, आप आईने में जो देख रहे हो वो आप ही हो, राइट? दैट इज सेकंड यू, वो आप ही हो। So whenever you create an object, whenever you create something onto the front end part, an object, a tab, a page layout, a fields, same also have been, created onto database. Now see, understand वो red star और blue dot के बीच का डिफरेंस समझ लो। उसी तभी मैं आपको वो समझा पाऊंगा जो आगे का डिस्कशन है हमारा, कि कहाँ पे हमको फील्ड्स को रिक्वायर्ड करना चाहिए बाय रिक्वायर्ड चेकबॉक्स, और कहाँ पे हमको उसे रिक्वायर्ड करना चाहिए विद द पेज लेआउट कस्टमाइजेशन। अगर ये नहीं समझा तो फिर आगे का डिस्कशन पे कोई मतलब नहीं है बात करके। ठीक है, देखो ये कहने के लिए बहुत छोटी चीज है, मैं सीधा 5 टॉपिक दिखा के और ये करवा के आगे बढ़ सकता हूँ, बट ना ऐसा मतलब मैं तो नहीं करता एटलीस्ट। और तुम आए हो मेरे पास तो फिर तो कुछ ना कुछ स्पेशल ही मिलेगा तुमको। देखो यार, अगर तुम किसी चीज को when you are creating a field, for example जैसे फोन फील्ड यू आर क्रिएटिंग, और वो रिक्वायर्ड चेक बॉक्स जो था उसको तुमने चेक कर दिया, तो एज एट द टाइम ऑफ क्रिएशन, या टाइम ऑफ क्रिएशन क्या बाद में भी है ना, कभी भी जब वो रिक्वायर्ड चेकबॉक्स को जब तुम चेक करते हो, तो व्हाट रियली हैपेंस इज लाइक दिस फील्ड बिकम्स फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मैंडेटरी ऑन पेज लेआउट। जब ये पेज लेआउट पे दिखेगी, जब ये पेज लेआउट पे दिखेगी तो ऐसा इस तरह से नजर आएगी। आप यूजर इंटरफेस पे देख के बोल दो यार ये तो मैंडेटरी फील्ड है यार, इसका तो डेटा मतलब इसके अंदर रिकॉर्ड देना ही पड़ेगा अपने को, विदाउट दिस आई कैन नॉट सेव दिस। इवन इवन दैट बिकम्स मैंडेटरी ऑन डेटाबेस लेवल एज वेल, कि अगर आप एक रिकॉर्ड सेव कर रहे हो यहाँ पे जिसका आईडी ये है फोन, अगर आपने फोन नंबर नहीं दिया तो यहाँ पर भी डेटाबेस एरर जनरेट होता है। अच्छा आगे चल के, अभी नहीं, आगे चल के प्रोग्रामिंग जब हम करेंगे, देखिए आज अगर मैं कहूँ आपसे कि आप अकाउंट पे एक रिकॉर्ड क्रिएट करो, तो आज आपकी एक डिपेंडेंसी है। अगर मैं आप लोगों से कहता हूं कि आप अकाउंट रिकॉर्ड क्रिएट करो, तो आपको यूजर इंटरफेस टैब पे जाना पड़ेगा, उसके बाद ये न्यू का बटन दबाना पड़ेगा, उसके बाद आप रिकॉर्ड फिल करेंगे और सेव का बटन दबाएंगे, तब जाके एक रिकॉर्ड क्रिएट होता है। तो अगर मैं आपसे कहता हूं कि एक अकाउंट रिकॉर्ड क्रिएट करो, डेटाबेस में एक अकाउंट रिकॉर्ड क्रिएट करो, डेटाबेस में एक केस रिकॉर्ड, कॉन्टैक्ट रिकॉर्ड, तो आपके पास एक आपकी डिपेंडेंसी है एक यूजर इंटरफेस पे, क्योंकि आपको यही तरीका पता है, दूसरा कोई तरीका पता नहीं, आगे चल के पता चलेगा। So when we start the development, there's a topic called, there's a topic called DML, data manipulation language. You will be going to understand with the help of the Apex classes, SQL queries and DMLs. We could even create the record directly from the programming environment. We could create the record inside database. ये हम पढ़ने वाले हैं आगे चल के, कि if I wanted to create something, if I wanted to store data inside database table, जैसे I wanted to store 10 records of position, 100 records of account, 1000 records of something, blah, blah, blah. So we definitely would not require front end for this. There is a way to do that as well. By any means, there's a mean called as DML. With the help of DML, it's a programming language. It's a tool of programming, data manipulation language. You would be going to learn some of the statement by which you could directly interact, with the database, and you don't require this middleware into this, the front end part. You don't require it. तो लेट्स कंसीडर दैट सिनेरियो कि मैं एक या एक से ज्यादा रिकॉर्ड पोजीशन ऑब्जेक्ट में इंसर्ट कर रहा हूं, और पोजीशन जब ये ऑब्जेक्ट आपने बनाया था, तो जब आपने ये फील्ड क्रिएट करी, तब आपने ये रिक्वायर्ड चेकबॉक्स उसके लिए क्लिक कर दिया। तो उसका मतलब ये हुआ कि अब ये फील्ड मैंडेटरी है पेज लेआउट पर, साथ ही साथ ये फील्ड मैंडेटरी है डेटाबेस पर भी। अभी मैं जो डेटा यहाँ पे इंसर्ट कर रहा हूं, आई एम नॉट क्रिएटिंग इट फ्रॉम पेज लेआउट, ये यहाँ से नहीं आ रहा है, वो यूजर इंटरफेस से नहीं आ रहा है डायरेक्टली बाय एनी मींस, यू विल गोइंग टू लर्न दैट एज वेल कि डायरेक्ट कैसे इंटरेक्ट करते हैं अपन डेटाबेस के साथ। आई एम इंसर्टिंग वन रिकॉर्ड, तो व्हेन आई एम इंसर्टिंग अ रिकॉर्ड इट मस्ट मतलब जो कुछ भी है, मतलब आईडी की वैल्यू दिया, नेम मतलब आईडी की वैल्यू 213, नेम कासिम, फोन नहीं दिया, बैलेंस 5000, तो ये आपको एरर देगा। क्या एरर देगा? मैंडेटरी फील्ड फोन डजंट हैव अ डेटा, आपको डेटा देना ही पड़ेगा वरना आप ये रिकॉर्ड सेव नहीं कर पाओगे। तो दिस इज व्हाट इट मेक्स, ये मतलब होता है रिकॉर्ड को फील्ड को डेटाबेस लेवल पे मैंडेटरी करना। तो अब क्या होता है, ध्यान से सुनो, लास्ट, ज्यादा वक्त नहीं है अभी मेरे पास में। अगर व्हेन यू मेक अ फील्ड रिक्वायर्ड फ्रॉम रिक्वायर्ड चेकबॉक्स, अभी आधा डिस्कशन हुआ है, आधा कल ही ले पाऊंगा। व्हेन यू मेक अ फील्ड रिक्वायर्ड फ्रॉम रिक्वायर्ड चेकबॉक्स, ये वो सारी फील्ड्स हैं यार, देख लो, तो वो इकट्ठे दो जगह पे मैंडेटरी होती है। एक तो आपके पेज लेआउट पे रेड स्टार पेज लेआउट एंड ब्लू डॉट डेटाबेस टेबल, व्हेन यू मेक इट ऑन लेआउट ओनली उसमें सिर्फ रेड स्टार आता है। तो अगर मान के चलिए कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर एक ऐसी फील्ड है जो सिर्फ पेज लेआउट पे मैंडेटरी है, पासपोर्ट नंबर मैंडेटरी, करंट सीटीसी ये सिर्फ पेज पे मैंडेटरी है। व्हेन यू आर क्रिएटिंग अ डेटा फ्रॉम यूजर इंटरफेस दीस फील्ड सीम्स टू बी अपीयर्स टू बी अ मैंडेटरी फील्ड। लेकिन अगर मान के चलो आगे चल के ये जो ऑब्जेक्ट है मेरा, कौन सा ऑब्जेक्ट है, कैंडिडेट ऑब्जेक्ट, इसमें अगर मैं डायरेक्टली डेटा मतलब डीएमएल्स के थ्रू अगर मैं एक रिकॉर्ड क्रिएट करूं डायरेक्ट डेटाबेस पे, और अगर उस वक्त मैंने कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर की वैल्यू नहीं दिया, करंट सीटीसी की वैल्यू नहीं दिया, पासपोर्ट नंबर की वैल्यू नहीं दिया, चलेगा। क्यों चलेगा? बिकॉज आई एम नॉट क्रिएटिंग दैट रिकॉर्ड फ्रॉम यूजर इंटरफेस। यूजर इंटरफेस पे ये मैंडेटरी है, डेटाबेस पे मैंडेटरी नहीं है। लेकिन अगर आपने एक्सपेक्टेड सीटीसी, ईमेल वैल्यू, नोटिस ना, ये जिनमें जिनमें भी आपको ब्लू ब्लू ये नजर आ रहे हैं डॉट्स, उसकी वैल्यू नहीं दिया तो आपका डेटा सेव नहीं हो सकता। क्यों? वो डेटाबेस लेवल पे मैंडेटरी है। ये डिफरेंस है रिक्वायर्ड चेकबॉक्स और पेज लेआउट कस्टमाइजेशन का, ये डिफरेंस है। अब कहाँ पे क्या यूज करना, वो थोड़ा सा एक अलग डिस्कशन है, अभी 6 मिनट में नहीं कर सकता। तो कल जब मैं स्टार्ट करूं प्लीज मेरे को याद दिलाइएगा ये बात कि ये डिस्कशन रहे क्या है। तो पहले यहां से शुरू करेंगे, उसके बाद आगे बढ़ते हैं, ठीक है? चलो, दैट्स ऑल फॉर टुडे। लेट मी गिव यू दिस कमांड, यू कैन नाउ अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ, प्लीज आस्क मी इफ यू वांटेड टू आस्क एनीथिंग। यस, एनी क्वेश्चंस?
सर
यस।
सर मतलब जब अपन फील्ड्स रेडी बनाते हैं, क्रिएट करते हैं, उस वक्त अगर अपन ने रिक्वायर्ड चेकबॉक्स किया है तो मतलब वो हमेशा के लिए रहेगा पेज लेआउट पे। अगर उसके बाद अपन आते भी है, एडिट करते हैं और वो चेकबॉक्स रिमूव भी करते हैं, फिर भी वो रिक्वायर्ड ही रहेगा।
नहीं, उसको हटा सकते हो आप, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है।
पर अभी आपने
अभी जैसे ये फील्ड थी कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर, आई थिंक, राइट?
हाँ
ये दोनों था पहले, मैंने उसको रिक्वायर्ड से हटा दिया, बट दिस सीम्स टू बी रिक्वायर्ड ऑन पेज लेआउट, मैं यहाँ से हटा देता हूँ इसको, हो गया। अब दिस इज नॉट अ मैंडेटरी फील्ड, हट गया। अभी व्हेन आई सेव दिस एंड आई विल गेट बैक टू दिस लेआउट, तो आप देखो कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर इज नॉट अ मैंडेटरी फील्ड।
तो फिर जब भी आपने किया था, रिक्वायर्ड हटा दिया था, फिर भी वो मैंडेटरी दिख रहा था
हाँ,
ना।
तो वो डेटा रिक्वायर्ड हटाने के बाद में वो डेटाबेस लेवल से हट गया, लेकिन पेज पे रखना या नहीं रखना इट्स अगेन योर चॉइस, तो एक स्टेप और आगे जाना पड़ता है अपने को।
ओके मतलब उसको
हाँ
मैंडेटरी नहीं करना तो दोनों जगह से, मतलब
हाँ,
जहाँ
मैं
पे फील्ड
फिर से
अपन ने
वही,
किया है।
हाँ चलो फिर से वही रिक्रिएट करते हैं अभी। अभी जैसे ईमेल आईडी फील्ड देख लो आप, ईमेल आईडी फील्ड जो है दैट सीम्स टू बी मैंडेटरी फ्रॉम बोथ ऑफ द प्लेसेस, राइट? तो अभी
राइट।
क्या करते हैं, एक काम करते हैं, सबसे पहले ईमेल अपन कैंडिडेट पे चलते हैं और आई एक्सपैंड दिस व्यू फील्ड्स, और ईमेल जो फील्ड है हमारी ये वाली, ठीक है, आई मेक दिस एडिट, यहाँ इसकी प्रॉपर्टी चेंज करता हूँ। तो अभी यहाँ से मैं रिक्वायर्ड से हटा देता हूँ, बट मैंने जब यहाँ से हटाई इस फील्ड को, सो दिस वुड दिस बिकम्स अ नॉन मैंडेटरी फ्रॉम डेटाबेस लेवल पे, डेटाबेस लेवल पे, ठीक है? लेकिन अभी अभी भी आपको मतलब इज वन मोर थिंग विच इज लेफ्ट, इफ यू गो विद लाइक न्यू, तो अभी भी आपको ये ईमेल सीम्स टू बी अ मैंडेटरी। ये ऐसा क्यों दिख रहा है? ये ऐसा इसलिए दिख रहा है बिकॉज आपने भले डेटाबेस लेवल से हटा दिया उसको, डेटाबेस लेवल से हटा दिया, अनचेक कर दिया, पेज से अभी भी बचा है ये। नाउ इफ यू एक्सपैंड एंड गो टू एडिट लेआउट, तो आपको दिखेगा कि यहाँ से ब्लू डॉट आपका हट चुका है, बट रेड स्टार अभी भी मौजूद है। तो यू अगर आपको बिल्कुल ही हटा देना तो बस आप इसको ऐसा अनचेक कर दो, सेव इट,
ओके
हो गया,
ओके।
ठीक है? तो बाय टुमारो व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस, ये डिसीजन कैसे लोगे आप? कि किसी को हमने मतलब डेटाबेस लेवल पे रिक्वायर्ड रखना, या इन सिंपल आपको दो टेक्निक पता है, एक है आपको रिक्वायर्ड चेकबॉक्स, दूसरा पेज लेआउट कस्टमाइजेशन। तो ये कौन सा सिलेक्शन किस बेसिस पे करते हो, क्या सिनेरियो होते हैं, कल हम उस पर डिस्कशन करेंगे। राइट, कल हम इस पर डिस्कशन करें। देखो कहने के लिए बहुत छोटी चीजें लगती हैं, लेकिन इसका इम्पैक्ट बहुत बड़ा होता है। मतलब मैं बता रहा हूँ ना आपको, आप यकीन मानो इस चीज का, ये बताने के लिए बहुत लोग हैं कि इससे होता उससे होता, बट ये बताने के लिए कि यार इसको ना इस पर्टिकुलर जगह पे ये यूज होता है, या फिर ये क्यों दो टेक्निक्स है, क्यों ये पांच टेक्निक्स हैं। तो ये चीजें अगर आपने हासिल करी, अगर आपने अपनी ट्रेनिंग इस तरह से किया ना, तो ये यही आपको काम में आएगा रियल टाइम पे। वरना सब थियोरेटिकल नॉलेज है, फिर कोई मतलब नहीं, तो हजार चीजें पढ़ने के लिए फिर। चलिए,
ओके।
एनी
तो
मोर
इसकी
क्वेश्चन?
प्रैक्टिस कहाँ पे करनी है?
सॉरी,
मतलब प्रैक्टिस करनी है तो कहाँ पे करनी है?
ये कहाँ करनी इन द सेंस, मैं समझा नहीं। ये जो मैं कर
मतलब
रहा हूँ
जैसे,
आपको वही करना है।
हाँ हाँ वही तो करने है, लेकिन ट्रायल एड में जैसे टास्क वगैरह रहते हैं।
इसमें समझा नहीं मैं, क्या पूछ रहे हैं आप?
ट्रायल एड।
ट्रेल हेड, अच्छा 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 अच्छा।
हाँ।
नहीं, ट्रेल हेड पे लाइक that is something different actually, there are the separate modules over there, and if you are
Yes.
practicing from that, that's a good thing, you have to do that, but they are having their own separate test cases and all. So this you have to implement onto your org the same way which I'm actually practicing it, the same way you have to do this.
Okay, sir.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining. Let's meet you by tomorrow morning.